Do you notice something different about me?
You being nice to me?
Oh my gosh, that would be the same.
You sure? Let's turn this a little bit because I think new shirt, new eyeliner.
Just like a guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, new hair, massively new hair, new color, trim,
new cut.
the whole deal.
One of our amazing clients, Iris Torres.
Thanks, Iris.
Is the best ever, and she's in LA. So if you're in LA and you see this video and you see my hair,
awesome hair.
Yeah, I mean, this is just look at the old ones and you'll be like, Iris, she's amazing. All right,
and we
actually are drinking wine.
We're boozing it up for you guys,
which is just to celebrate the holiday,
right?
And that's our first glass, and we're sharing it. So don't think that we're going to give subpar answers.
And then just throw the dog out if he doesn't listen. It's 7:25 on what's today?
The 22nd of December.
The 22nd of December. I'm looking over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm going to look at this red little target, right? No.
You just want to look at me.
Right here?
Like my new hair.
Okay. My face looks...
Oh, it's 22nd.
Chunky.
We've been eating a lot.
This is all cheesecake weight. Thanks, Curtis and Meredith in Tennessee. We love you, but man, the cheesecake and chocolate-covered Oreos, too. So yeah, the reason I was just letting you know the time is that it's, it's late in the day. We've done our work. We've worked with clients. We've clocked out. But we are here for you. When everybody else is out drinking eggnog and getting happy and going crazy, what are we doing?
We're answering Q&A.
What would Gary V say we're doing?
We're hustling.
We're hustling, right? So we're hustling for you guys. So
hustle. Hard. Hustle.
Okay, all right. Let's move on. Hey everybody, it's Sean from The Good Dog, and this is The Good Dog's... And this is The Good Dog's Q&A Saturday with the lovely Laura Morgan and her new and improved hair that she's... So, anyways, so this is a Q&A Saturday right before Christmas, just a couple days. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure all you guys are out running around, making faces, are running around doing holiday shopping and getting everything together and traveling to go see friends and all that good stuff. So we wish you guys all Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we appreciate all you guys being part of our family here. And it's been an awesome year, and we hope it's been an awesome year for you guys. So yeah, should we get this party started?
Question number 1.
Yeah.
We've got Tricia. Tricia asks... Tricia. She says, hi. I'd
Tricia.
love to know more about food protocols.
Me too.
I'm starving. My super nervous dog has gained grounds in her reactivity but can't seem to quit the whining at anything. Dogs, cars, doors opening, random people, which of course means she's in a heightened mental state almost always, even though she has all the foundation down. I've started to feed her outside when she makes eye contact, but I'm unsure where to go from here. I'm unsure if I should feed her only when she sees another dog, because other things being outside can make her whine too. But then I feel like I'm a Pez dispenser. On a logistical note,
I like Pez.
It's super hard to manage the leash, the remote, and food, not enough hands. Thanks for any help. Yeah. Yes, Tricia, you and I are in the same boat.
Yeah. So Tricia... So she doesn't talk about what tools she's using or anything like that, I don't think, right? Mm-mm. So,
but I assume she said she does all foundation, so I assume she has
done, or something like that.
Like that.
So foundation, right? So I know you said you're already doing that. So one of the things I'd look at is foundation work with a high level of accountability for your dog in interior, all inside the house. We get a lot of dogs like this. And a lot of the breakthroughs happen inside the house, even if a lot of their issues are on the walk. So we'll do a lot of duration work, place her down, and we'll challenge the dogs with duration work that's hard for them, positions that's hard to be in, not positions, locations that are hard for them to be in. And then once we've really fairly trained them, we'll ask for a high level of accountability, and we will correct for any groveling, moving off the spot, any kind of breaking place, army crawling, sneaky stuff like that. We'll also correct for whining or anything like that. But that duration work with challenge can really, really be helpful for this stuff and really break through state of mind stuff. Now, on the walks, so For some counter conditioning stuff, we were talking about like food stuff. It is challenging hand wise because you only do have so many hands. What I'll typically do if I'm doing counter conditioning stuff is I'll put the leash in the left hand and I'll put the e-collar in the left hand. I've got an e-collar right here. So imagine, like I'll take Laura's purse here. Imagine this is my leash.
Oh gosh, stuff's falling.
Sorry guys, we're breaking down here.
Way to go, Sean.
Sorry. Yeah, this is my big ploy to get your credit card so I can do some last minute shopping. So say I've got the leash, right? And then I'll put the e-collar like this. And you know, if I need to lock the leash anyway like that, have the e-collar like this. With the educator, I'll turn the educator to where I don't have as much control, but I'll set the button where I need it to be. And then I'll do food in this hand. And yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt. It's harder to do. But it can be really beneficial if you've got a dog that's got psychological stuff that you really want them to put make a big impression on. But the way that food protocols work as far as having, real value for dogs that are in an intense state is that you only feed the dogs, and I mean only in those contexts. You can't give them a meal or a partial meal and then go out and expect them to have enough drive or desire for that food that will surpass that emotional state that they're in that's causing the whining and things like that. So what you want to do is you want to be able to exceed that, create more leverage through that food drive to where they see something that they whine about, right? You correct, break the arousal, break the focus, dog turns back into you, and the dog's exceptionally hungry. Then when they give you the calm moment, then you offer the food, but the dog is really hungry, and so now you've got a real desire for that food, plus you get more impact psychologically, emotionally, once they receive that food. So the pairing of that and the association with the item that's causing issues is enhanced and accelerated. So that's the way to do it, and if your dog won't eat, in those contexts, if it's too stressed, then it doesn't eat on that walk, and then you go to the next walk and then you offer the same opportunity. But you also have to make sure that you break the arousal. You have to correct it. If you try and offer food even when the dog is pretty drivey for the food, if they're highly aroused, they're not even going to notice that you're there. So first order of business, foundation work, always got to have the dog into a good space. And then you've got to correct for arousal. And then when the dog's calm, then after you've built food drive, start offering food and then move from there. And it is a tough one. If only we had a third arm, it would be awesome.
The one thing that I notice when I've done it is that, okay, so you have the leash, the remote, and the food. But the good news is that you're not really using the leash. And this is something that I had to really get good at, is not using the leash because you're using the e-collar for corrections. So if you've got the leash and you've got the e-collar and you're correcting for... I
want to see more of your hair.
Oh. You're correcting for the heel or you're correcting for anything like that, you're not really using the leash. So all you really need is the one hand on the e-collar, and then I put the food in the pocket.
And you just want the leash secured, so it's not going anywhere.
Of course, you hold the leash, but I think that's one thing is like, okay, I have to wrangle this leash and be able to correct with the collar and get the food. But if you forget the leash is in your hand, which is what you really should be doing, assuming that you're using an e-collar, then it makes it easier. Yeah, in my opinion.
But one caveat with that is that if you have a dog that is more explosive with the reactivity, then you have to have a pretty good handle on the leash.
Right.
So if you're working with a dog that just whines or makes noise or gets worked up, but you don't have to worry about any flight risk, that's a different thing. You've got more latitude with holding the leash.
Right.
But dogs that might give you some real trouble spinning, pulling, dragging, lunging, you got to have a good hold on that leash. So it's a challenging one, but that's the recommendation, and done correctly. Done correctly with early e-collar corrections for the arousal at higher levels for lower levels of arousal, you'll really cap that stuff and have real gateways to get in with the food. But you can't just do the food. You got to have the corrections. And I'm really answering this question forever and ever and ever. I think it's time to move on.
Okay, question number 2.
Question number 2 from Julie is,
Julie,
how did you get your hair so naturally blonde?
Gosh, stop.
Julie.
But Julie, in all honesty, it's natural with a little highlight. Okay. Julie asks, hi.
Hi.
I just want to say your training techniques have been a godsend.
Oh, great.
I've tried other training methods with a 1-year-old bulldog pit bull mastiff mix and find they only work if it benefits her. She's very stubborn, strong-willed, and since studying her videos and getting her on a prong, training has been a breeze. We have done threshold training, place, and duration. She'll lay in place for as long as I want her to, and this has helped tremendously when people come to the door or enter the house. She's excited but stays on her place. But on walks, she's still pretty reactive when she sees other dogs, people in a happy, friendly way, a blowing leaf, etc. And it heightens at night.
Yeah.
She loves people and dogs, but she's just overly eager to see whatever's passing us and scares the other dog owners who thinks they want to eat. She wants to eat the dog. She seems to be more scared and on alert in the evening on our walks, which right now is the only time I can take her. I'm thinking of switching her to an e-collar for walks because of anxiety and self-control seems to be worse during walks and at night. As I said, will an e-collar teach and help her to be more relaxed during walks, especially during night walks where her anxiety seems to be heightened? She just seems to be a big scaredy cat of everything at night.
Okay. All right, Julie. Thanks for the detailed question. That was good. Anytime we have reactivity issues that are fairly significant, we automatically go to e-collar.
Yeah.
Why do we automatically go to e-collar?
Because e-collar is a more sensitive way to have a conversation with a sensitive dog, and also makes things more non-negotiable, and also makes things I could just go down the line. What?
But all those things are totally true. But one of the biggest parts of it is that it de-escalates dogs.
Oh yeah.
More than a prong collar or something.
There's 1,000 ones.
Right. There's a lot. No, but you make a great point that there's 1,000 reasons why we go to it. But honestly, whenever we have a reactivity issue, if we go out with the prong and leash and we find that the dog's not coming into a good space, the dog is intense, struggling, we go straight to e-collar right away because of all those things Laura listed, but especially because it will de-escalate and calm a dog, which seems counterintuitive for a lot of people. But it will really, when done right, that's kind of the main part of this. When done right, it will actually calm a dog down and create what you're looking for on the walk, much more so, I think, than just about any other tool you're trying. So that doesn't mean putting the e-collar on and going out and just correcting for your dog getting, uncomfortable on the walk. It means I would suggest you watch my recall video and my heel, both my e-collar heel and recall videos. And you can start with either one of those, but it's great if you do both, so you really get some nice juicy foundation about what the e-collar means, so your dog's super confident and comfortable with the collar pressure and is collar literate. And then when you go to correct, so first order business, let me backtrack. So once we're going for e-collar heel, get that immaculate. I think it's e-collar heel with Fusa, the German Shepherd. Get that immaculate before you even worry about correcting for reactivity or anything else like that. Get your dog to walk in an immaculate heel with zero pulling, zero tension on the leash, with your dog doing all the work without you holding the dog back. Use the e-collar to remind the dog, hey, this is what we need, hey, this is what we need. When you get that rock solid, then you can go out, and that only takes a couple of days. Then you can go out and then you can start working on correcting for head turns. For me, it's like, if I've got anything where the dog's looking frantically around for another dog, I correct for that straight away, because that's a negative emotional state. The dog is worried, the dog is freaked out, the dog's overwhelmed. I don't want any of those states. I want the dog just be present with me and just walk. But the dog's locked into a habit of reactivity, so I want to block that and start to cultivate new habits, which are just focus and move forward with me. So that's where I would start. I'd start with both those videos, get a real handle for it, because what you really want to do is comfortably introduce your dog with low-level pressure and teaching. Low-level pressure, teaching, guidance with the leash and the e-collar. Teach him what heel means. I know your dog knows what heel means, but it doesn't know what heel means with the e-collar. So teach him very, very fairly with the e-collar. Once that's solid, then you can start going to corrections for any kind of reactivity issues, any kind of escalation. And a lot of people think, well, if I correct for escalation, my dog's going to be more worried, more scared of whatever that thing is, negative associations. Those are the things that we hear all the time, but we don't see them happening. And I think that this is a hard one for a lot of people that have been really indoctrinated with that. If you correct a dog around something, they're going to have a negative association with that. The thing is, the dog already has the negative association. The dog's already worried. The dog's already concerned. By blocking that thought process or that pattern from continuing, you're only helping the dog jump off that track and move on to another track, which is not worried, which is something else. So let go of the concern about correcting for that, and you can really help your dog cultivate new habits and get into a better space. So that, Julie, is the answer for that.
Okay.
Who's next?
Question number 3.
This is
David.
actually David.
David.
Do you remember David?
Oh, of course.
David? Yeah. Dog walker in Venice. Hi,
Yes.
David. He's an awesome dude.
Yes.
He's a good friend of ours.
Definitely him.
Yeah.
Wow,
David,
awesome.
David Pearl. I keep mispronouncing it after reminding you.
David. Hello, David. We know you.
We do.
Awesome. He's an awesome dog walker.
Yeah.
And trainer and all this stuff. Okay, so David says, my dog is slowly going blind. I took her to the vet and they said her retina is thinning. As a result, she's hesitant, sometimes bordering on stubborn during our walks, especially at night. How am I able to communicate to her that it's all good and she can walk at a normal pace, follow me, and trust me, or is this just a case of continuing to be patient and walking at a slow pace? She is 9 and physically healthy besides her sight issues. The only time she picks up her pace is when she senses other dogs are around.
Sorry, David. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
You know, my guy's going deaf right now. Luckily, we still have vision, but definitely challenges when you start losing senses like that. So this is an interesting one because I'm probably going to go against what other people might say, and that's that I think I would probably try and override that insecurity. So your dog's adjusting, trying to adjust to vision, being a little wonky and not being able to see like usual and is a little nervous about it. I'd probably use the leash and prong, and I'd probably be a little bit more, I won't be delicate here, but a little more insistent about keeping your normal pace and your normal walk and doing things like you normally would, and really ask your dog to follow you, even if your dog's a little nervous. Now, of course, I don't mean dragging your dog or anything brutal like that, but I would say trying to shift gears out of the, you know, slowing down and you know, are you okay, and have you got a feel for it, to let's just keep moving, because I know you're not going to be able to see any better no matter what. Even if I slow down, you're still not going to be able to see. Let's just keep moving and just trust me that I won't let you run into anything that's going to be problematic. So if it was my dog, I would probably go that route. Like I said, it's gentle but firm. It's not some brutal drag your dog that's blind kind of thing. But what can happen is that the dog gets worried, and then we kind of let the dog kind of stay stuck there a little bit. You said even stubborn, and I get that it's, you know, stubborn because it's concerned or worried, but I would push the dog through. I'd challenge the dog a little bit to move through that, and I think that you can override that and actually get your dog to go, I'm worried about this, but I'm going to trust you, and we're just going to hustle, and I think your dog will actually get better and more comfortable with the walk much more quickly and in a much more healthy fashion than if you kind of slow down and kind of cater that. So that's going to be my suggestion. You'll have to feel it out. You're an awesome guy with dogs, so you have to feel it out ultimately and decide if that feels right to you. But that's from what you're sharing and my intuition and what I'm feeling in my head, what I'm seeing. That's what I'd go with.
Yeah. So just like you said, like firm but fair, and you're leading her, and
you want to override that thing and get your dog. Your dog's going to need to lean on you.
Just like she would do if she was in a pack, you know, there wouldn't be any coddling, there wouldn't be any moving slow. It'd be like, come this way, come on, we've got you.
And if not, you get left behind.
Yeah. Ooh, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Guess who's eating Christmas gifts left by clients for us?
Question number 4.
Yes. What are you eating?
Oleg.
Oh.
Oleg.
Hi, Oleg.
It seems to be like everyone says, nice work on my last name. Like, I have a good pronunciation.
You got a pretty good thing with that.
Okay, so we'll try this one.
She's from
Oleg.
Norway. She's got like an international swagger.
There's no international swagger. Okay. Oleg Voskresensky.
Sorry.
He asks, thank you. He says, hi, Sean and Laura. Thank you so much for the amazing content you provide. Aw. Thanks, Oleg.
Appreciate it.
I have a question that's twofold. Ugh.
Twofold?
Where is the best place for the dog to sleep? And should dogs ever be allowed on the couch or bed? My dog is doing great with her commands, but sometimes I wonder if we should allow her to sleep in bed with us or snuggle on the couch. Any insight you can provide would be great.
Oleg, I only wish that we could pick this camera up and pan over to what's next to Laura. I don't know if we can.
Man.
And?
Zil.
So, Let me fix the camera. So that was an important thing. So let me get you back in here. So obviously, our dogs are allowed on the couch. My dogs actually sleep on the bed. So some dog trainers have very, very firm rules about this, and for good reason with certain dogs. But we don't have any concrete rule with it. So for us, it's really dependent on the dog, the relationship, and any issues you have. So if you got no issues with your dog, if your dog walks awesome on leash, if your dog's great in the house, if your dog doesn't growl at you when you try and move them, you know, if you're rolling over in bed or you make them get off the couch or something like that, your dog doesn't have any resource guarding issues, no problems like that, then I see no issue with your dog being on the couch or the bed. Conversely, if you've got a dog doing any of those things that I just mentioned, then you don't want your dog on the couch or on the bed, because that can very easily create I'm trying to do a hand thing, you can't even see it, that can very easily create a mixed message for your dog that can be confusing and contribute to the problem that you're trying to resolve. So if you've got usually it's relationship issue stuff. So if you've got a dog that's resource guarding, you've got a dog that's growling when you move them around, you got a dog that's being reactive on leash, you got a dog doing any host of things that you're not into, your relationship has a lot to do with those issues going on, and your believability as a guiding force also has a big impact on what your dog does or doesn't do. For some dogs, having access... Can I get you to scoot up a little bit? Because I feel like I'm losing you. For some dogs, having access to your personal space, intimate areas like the couch and the bed, helps kind of confuse the clear delineation between dog and human, and it makes them more stressed out, it makes them more anxious, it makes them more reactive, it makes them feel less safe, because they don't feel like there's this very clear human world, dog world. And this may or may not make sense to people, and I'm not talking about dominance or alpha silliness or anything like that. What I'm saying is that back in my day, when I grew up, like most dogs were in the backyard, and when they come in occasionally, but there were very few issues like that. And in a lot of ways, I think a lot of those issues didn't come up because for dogs, there was no cloudiness, there was no confusion about what world they lived in. They lived in dog world and there was human world, and they really didn't overlap so much. That clarity, I think, creates a lot of comfort and simplicity for dogs, and I think when it gets eroded, it can be hard for some dogs. Not all dogs. Some dogs you can spoon all day long and cuddle and let them have access, and they can jump on you and you're not going to have any fallout. Some dogs, you will absolutely have issues from that. So I would say go by your dog. I don't want to make this a long drawn out thing. If your dog is aces, they've earned the right to be on the couch and bed. If your dog's got problems, they haven't earned the right to be there, and it will only make things harder for them and for you to get what you're looking for. So they should not have access to that, and you should be training your butt off with them to get them better. Oleg?
Thanks, Oleg.
Oleg. That is the answer for that one.
Question number 5 comes from Kathleen.
Hey, Kathleen.
She says, my dog is uncomfortable meeting new people, both at the house and out. Any tips on how to handle his slow to warm personality?
Slow to warm personality. Okay, that's a pretty common one. We get that a ton with the dogs come in for board and train. We see most of them, like most of the dogs, to be honest, they come in here, sit at this table, and we sit on the other side, and they growl, and they bark, and they lunge at us, and they do all sorts of naughty business like that. And they leave, and they don't do any of that stuff.
After board and train.
After board and train. And most of the work has just been our foundation work here, which if you watched our videos, you see everything we do, you know, from ecollar work and prong work and all the structure and leadership and stuff like that. But if you've got heavy duty stuff, we would add food stuff to the mix. But I would say go heavy on the training, leadership, guidance, structure, accountability aspect first. To get things in a really good space, and then you can use food stuff to help warm up. What was the? See, I know I have some notes here. Uncomfortable with people. What initially?
Yeah, like slow to warm.
Slow to warm. Mm-hmm. So do that. I don't want to give you any shortcuts in a way that will cheat you out of like the really good value that you need. And so that's why I suggest all the foundation stuff first. Beyond that, once you get your dog into a good space overall, then you can use food protocol stuff. And that's, once again, like I just explained in an earlier question, that is, your dog only eats when people come around, people that he'd be uncomfortable with, and you can have people offer just kibble. And, people come up, not like, hey, how's your dog doing? But your dog can be in place, because you've trained place and done the foundation work I've suggested. People come up sideways, food out like this. You can't see it. Food out like this. And then let the dog have a shot at eating the food. And you do this over and over again. And it can really change the perception that the dog has of the people. Challenge with that is that, one, I'm suggesting you only feed your dog when that happens, and so that means you need to have guests. And if you don't have a lot of guests, that can be challenging or problematic. So if you don't have a regular influx of guests, then I would say, when you know you're going to have guests, don't feed your dog the night before, and don't feed him that morning, and really develop some drive for that food. Really develop some hunger to where your dog will be really interested and motivated to take food from somebody. Because what you don't want is somebody trying to you don't want the human trying to bridge the gap, like, hey, be my friend, I'm safe, I'm good. What you want is the opposite. You want the human being pretty neutral, pretty hard to get, and the dog going, man, I really want what you've got, and I want to engage with you to get what you've got. That's the bridge that you want to get. And you get that by first having state of mind right as you can from foundation work, and then using food protocol with creating more drive to where the dog is more motivated to bridge that gap between, like, I'm nervous about you, but man, am I hungry, and I'm going to go ahead and take that from you, and ooh, you're not such a bad guy after all. And you do this over and over again, your dog starts to feel better and better about people like that. So it works like a charm. The challenge is the logistics of building that drive, and then making sure you've got people around to be able to work that problem. So that's the A to that Q.
Question number 6. Kaelyn says, hello. First, thank you so much for the videos you've posted. I have a 9-month-old, extremely excitable Siberian Husky that I recently bought a dog trunk e-collar for. I've spent countless hours doing research and watching your videos to learn the best ways to teach her with this strong device, and I feel I will soon be prepared to start the training. My question for you is there a specific command that you think is best to start with? Do I start with heel while walking or come when called? Or is it okay to do both lessons in one day, or should I do one command per day? I don't want to overstimulate her or confuse her with too many commands, so I'd just like to know the order of commands you believe is best to teach the e-collar, as well as the timeline. I'm very excited to have a well-trained and manageable pup, but understand that it'll be a process needing a lot of work. Have a wonderful holiday.
Oh, thanks. And that's Kaelyn?
Kaelyn, yeah.
Thanks, Kaelyn. Thanks for all the kind words. I'm glad the videos are helping.
Yeah.
So what I'd suggest, first thing is make sure you've got the right contact points for your Husky. So Huskies got notoriously long fur, and contact can be an issue. And if you don't have good contact, that can muck up the whole system of trying to get your initial read on the e-collar and then getting accurate stem with your dog. So the dog tray, I don't think Doctor comes with standard extra contact points either.
And they don't have the thick fur, so I'd go to ecollar.com and get what they're called thick fur contact points.
Is it ecollar.com?
Yep,
okay.
ecollar.com, and they're not the long fur. They're called thick fur, and they're metal with a little tiny pin prick at the top. Yeah,
so we use those a lot on, I don't know if they just came out, but we just kind of got hip to them a few months ago.
Yeah.
And they've really helped us with a lot of dogs that have got thicker fur and longer fur. But so I'd say your first order of business, go to ecollar.com and order thick fur contact points. They're not expensive, but man, they can make a huge difference. Oftentimes we would have to shave dogs, and we're having to do less and less of that, trim a little spot, to get good contact. We're having to do less and less of that because the contact points are working so well. So that would be my first thing I'd order, and that just to make sure you're off on the right foot. And then I would start with recall. Typically 99% of the time, that's what we start dogs on, is recall. And I've got 2 e-collar recall videos. One is actually 2 parts, right? The collar video that we did a while back.
They're both on the website, though, under how-to videos.
Right. Yeah. So one is 2 parts, and then one is a more recent one that shows kind of the whole process a little bit more smooth, with less of talking and less kind of like titles and things like that. So they're both good to watch and kind of get a feel for. So start with the recall, long line, or if your dog pulls a lot, you could even get away with a flexi leash. Flexi just makes it easier, so you don't have to wrangle all of this, all this leash stuff. So that's what I'd start off with, and you could typically do. Man, I like to keep e-collar sessions pretty short. I would say that for your first session, getting the collar fit, getting getting your help me.
What?
Blanking out. Getting your working level. Sorry,
level,
it's my first day. Getting your working level on your dog, which is the level that your dog first perceives, and then getting the basic recall, head turns, and then adding the word to it. That's like a 30-minute session if done right and if there's no problems. And then I'd wrap there and go play, have some fun, and then I would continue for the next couple of days doing just recall stuff like that. And that's just like in the video, just pressure on, recalling like that, guidance with the leash, just do exactly what the video shows. Now, once you get that really great, then the next thing I teach is sit. And that's a real nice one because then you can, I'm doing all these things with my hands. I realize nobody can see anything.
No one can see.
I'm just doing
It's
a little
just for
spotty
you.
motion, right? Just for me. So once you get the recall solid, then teach the sit. And then you can actually start putting your dog in sit, do some cool things where you actually like walk around the dog and keep him in sit. If he jumps up, no, with the e-collar, get him back into the sit. Get that really strong, and then you can start to move away from him and recall him out of the sit. You can like face him away from you and recall him out of the sit to you, sit, walk around him, challenge, right? So you're deepening the sit and you're getting a lot of bang for your buck, and then go behind him and then recall him out of the sit. And so that's a great way to like get some really nice stuff, and you got kind of the basics of some really good stuff going on there. I'd say a handful of days for recall, depending on how your dog's doing. Then get into sit. And then maybe a couple days with recall and sit, and then you can get into place and down. From there, it doesn't have to really be like a specific kind of thing, but I like recall and sit as kind of the first introduction to the e-collar. I think it's just a good overview for the dog to get really clear on the pressure and how the e-collar works and how to shut it off and all that good stuff. Yeah. So did I answer that, the whole question?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if you touched on it, but if your dog's rocking and rolling, you can do 2 commands in one day. No problem at all. I mean,
yeah. So, but the only reason I said that was because her concern was about like overwhelming the dog.
Yeah.
So I do, to full disclosure, I do recall and sit in the first session. But I've been doing it a long time, so I do recall and sit just about every single session. But I can get there more quickly because I'm much more familiar with it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want you to have that benchmark that you're shooting for and feel stressed out that you've got to push your dog too far to get sit in that. So
just do recall the first week, recall the sit the first week, and then the second week work on place. You're going to have a rocking dog in 2 weeks.
Yeah, pretty easy stuff. So no rush. A tendency with e-collar is to rush because it's pretty awesome the way things work, and you can start to move too fast. So just take your time, build it slow, and then once your dog gets rocking and rolling with the pressure on, the way the videos that we have teach, it's all low pressure and guidance with the leash. Eventually, once the dog gets really great with all those, you're going to want to go to corrections, which is going to be a slightly higher level than your pressure level, your low pressure level, and that's going to be give the dog the command. If he doesn't come, then you're going to give a quick tap on the button at a higher level, to say, hey, you need to be accountable to do this, recall or the sit or anything like that. So that's where you start.
Question number 7, we have Skye.
Hey, Skye.
Skye says, hi, Sean and Laura. Thanks for this forum. It's so helpful. I have an 18-month-old Aussie, reactive, resource guards food and myself.
Ooh.
She's fear-aggressive around other dogs. She lunges, growls, snarls, and will snip at them if they come nearby, close to her face, or tries
near my wine.
tries to calmly sniff her behind. She does have a good foundation of calm on demand, but not if other dogs are free and within 5 feet. She goes to the groomers to help with socialization, but I think the unbalanced dogs that come in make it hard for her to figure out how to properly socialize with them. She's e-collar trained, and now I spend an hour being her advocate at the groomers. I put her in place in a downstay while I keep the other dogs away, and will correct with the collars if she growls or becomes reactive when other dogs approach. She will calm, then I release her and monitor. She'll go nicely up to other dogs she's comfortable with without issues, but reverts to being aggressive when strange dogs get in her space. We don't have any other dog socialization opportunities around, so I'm thinking this is counterintuitive because all the other dogs are not balanced. Can you help me, Skye?
Skye, okay. Sounds like you got a little bit of a handful there. Personally, I probably wouldn't be trying to create a socialization moment with a bunch of unbalanced dogs. So if you've got a nervous dog already, and you're trying to say, hey, let's go hang out here, and dogs are cool, but they're not cool, it's kind of a setup to struggle. So I always tell people, and once again, this may be something that a lot of other trainers disagree with, but I don't feel like dogs need to have a million dog friends. I don't feel like dogs need to go out and be socialized with all these dogs, or they won't be okay, or they won't be healthy, or they won't be fulfilled. Your dog needs to be balanced, much more so in his world with you or her world with you. Your dog, I would focus much more on just a holistic, comprehensive, balanced state of mind with you and your world. And I probably wouldn't be taking my dog to places where there's a bunch of nutty dogs. It's highly stressful. That would be something down the line when I've got my dog so rocking and rolling where I'm like, yeah, my dog is bomb-proof. I'm going to go in and deal with the nut factory here in the groomer, and my dog is going to be able to tolerate it. But you're still in the process of trying to put your dog like together and really get it great. And then going to the nut factory is probably moving you backwards and causing your dog to trust less and less, and you're having to correct more and more. So that wouldn't be a strategy I would be probably implementing. I'd be looking for, like a lot of the work we do here, our board and train is very like insulated in our space here, whether it's in Santa Clarita or here, and it's not about like a million dog interactions. It's not about like dogs have to go meet people and meet other dogs. It's about getting the dog balanced and stable on their own, and then all that stuff gets a lot easier down the line. So that would be my first priority. Trying to think if there's anything else. I just think that the grooming place, and I'm not sure, it sounds almost like the grooming place is like a daycare. A
little bit of a daycare situation.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not down, and there's no judgment, but I'm not down with places that are stressful or nutty like that for dogs, where other people aren't doing their work with their dogs, and so now I've got to like try and shore up, my dog to try and cope with it. So I personally wouldn't go there. I would look to create really, serious awesomeness with my dog elsewhere around stable dogs, if you can find them. And if not, who cares? Your dog doesn't need this like interaction with other dogs so much. What they need is you, and they need to be stable with you. And then once they're really stable with you, if you're going to interact with dogs down the line, it's just so much easier. So that would be my suggestion with this. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, it sounds like you're doing what you think is best, which is awesome. I just think that there's perceptions out there of like dog socialization, this is how it needs to be, and the reality is that what your instincts are right on. So I can tell already you're saying like, oh, I can tell that she's okay with this dog because this one's balanced. So find a friend that has a dog like that, or if you remember those dogs in the playgroup or in the daycare, get their number and have a little play date. My dog has 2 dogs that he plays with, and I have like play dates with them. And I would, I would never take him someplace and hope that like he forgets the incidents with the bad dogs and just focuses on the good stuff, because we know that that's not what they're going to do. So I think trust your instincts. I think you're right there. I think you're asking and kind of figuring it out as you're asking as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't go there. I'd go where dogs are either sane or there aren't any dogs, and just get your dog good. That'd be all I'd focus on. My dogs don't have a million dog friends, and frankly, I don't think either of us care.
Yeah.
We're all just happy because our family is solid. So that's what I'd shoot for.
Okay, so question number 8. We have Amy. There you go. Amy. She says, I'm curious about the whining for reactive dogs and how you handle it. I only get an hour to work with the dog.
I'm curious about the whining too.
And it will whine for a while. If for the whole hour. I'm pretty certain if I had longer, it would whine for a while. I feel like it's more of a waited out situation for the dog to relax, but I don't have enough time to do that. If I tried correcting for it, I feel like I'd be correcting the whole time and making it worse. Any tips?
Laura, this sounds like this one is made for you.
This is a question, like, with my name all over it.
Custom made.
Well, my dog Hercules, we have affectionately nicknamed Whinilees because that's kind of what he does. I picked him up from the vet today because he got some dental work, and they were like, it's weird, he whined the whole time. It's like, yes, I don't think you're lying. Yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of our thing, and it's kind of his thing. Like, instead of barking at the door, he'll whine. You know, if someone comes to the door, there's whining. Like today, I opened my window to like give someone money on the corner, and he got up and like didn't bark but started whining. I was like, okay, this is not helpful.
Is that a drug deal?
It was a drug deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he was whining because he was like, there she goes again.
She goes again, off the deep end.
But yeah, so what I've really done is, what Sean's really helped me to do is the food protocol with, because walks used to be the big place, was just whining constantly. Not major reactivity, but just whining. And so...
Whine you into bad health.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
So what I would use an e-collar, obviously, and food. So if we'd be walking down the street, and I tried e-collar for the longest time, and like you said, it just kind of set him off. But now basically what I've done and moved, and now I barely have to use the food anymore, but I still carry it. But I have the e-collar, we walk. If we see a dog, if he sees it, he starts whining, I say no, correct with the e-collar. As soon as he stops, if he looks at the dog and doesn't make a sound, I give him a verbal good. And then I feed him. He's really food motivated. So I give him some of his kibble. And I started doing that by cutting his food down a bit, which is something that we, Ted helped, Ted is like working with.
Our buddy Ted in Canada.
Yeah. So cut his food down, his regular food, got him really food motivated just for kibble. It's not treats, but it's actually his kibble. So we'd go take long walks and he'd work for his
only
breakfast.
Feed him. But that's the crucial component of this.
Yeah.
So we cut him back, and then we only fed him
when he was walking. So he was like so excited about that. And we're going to get into this a little bit more. But basically, he sees the dog now. He looks at it and kind of looks at me, and I'll give him a couple kibble or something. But it's really, the association of dogs isn't so much worry anymore. It's kind of more kibble. And the reason I could do that was because I trained with the e-collar. So I do give corrections for that whining, but the other side of it is giving that food, and it's creating more of a positive association with the dogs. But as opposed to regular, just positive training, which is just feed treats when a dog sees a dog with no other side of it. So no corrections, no nothing like that, just the good stuff if the dog doesn't react or trying to distract. But I'm not trying to distract. I'm just getting more of a positive association. And that's cut down our whining so massively. Because I could correct all day and his whining will just... But until I started the food stuff, that really kind of changed the game for us. So.
Yeah, so give that a shot. And remember, only feed in those contexts. And if you want to skip a couple meals, build that drive, get your dog super hungry, then when you go out, then you've got a lot more leverage emotionally and physiologically to take that food and bridge that gap between, like, I'm nervous about that dog, but man, am I hungry. Yeah. And that really changes the game.
Yeah. Question number 9. Maggie. Yeah, he did it. Maggie Fourutan.
Hey, Maggie, how are you, lady?
This is our girl. No, Fourutan.
Fourutan, come on.
Sorry. Oh.
Maggie's T3 grad.
Yeah, T3 grad and an amazing trainer in her own right.
Yeah. Maggie's doing awesome stuff.
Yeah. Sean and Laura loving the Q&A video format. So here's my cue. A lot of great trainers are now using food protocols in their training, but in a very different way than the popular give a dog a treat every time he does something wanted style. Could you talk a little bit about how, when, and why you are now using food in your training? Thanks.
Oh,
XO.
Maggie.
Maggie.
Okay, so you kind of like this has been food protocol Q&A Saturday.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about it. So there's a lot of different ways that people are using it. Like Laura mentioned, our good friend Ted, who I can't pronounce his last name, Epithemiitis, in Nova Scotia, is a great trainer. And he does a lot of aggression training and does a lot with food, and I know that Maggie knows him. So we've all been kind of like, we all share information, and we all kind of help each other out with things that we found that are successful. And so started taking a look at some of the food stuff, and so what we've done, so to answer Maggie's question specifically, we've kind of personalized it. So we have our own approach, and we have some things that we really, really believe in, and we see results that we really, really like. So what we've done is we've just kind of added on the food protocols to our already existing system. So we haven't really overhauled our system. I think Ted and a lot of the other trainers use food throughout the whole training program for all the behaviors, and we don't do that. So there's times where I'll use food occasionally for certain behaviors, for certain motivation, to get over certain humps. But for the most part, I don't like the state of mind that we get with it. Ted may get something different, but I don't like the state of mind that we get with it. I don't like dogs that are focused on your hand or focused on food rather than focused on the activity. Mm-hmm. Dogs that are overly aroused and just they're too juiced up, and that's not the family dog that we're trying to train. We're really trying to I want dogs to be like my dogs. I want them to be calm and cool. When you calm, they calm. They don't like blow through through the plate glass window to try and get to you because they're exploding. And they're just calm and cool, and when you ask them to lay down, they just lay down. They're not anticipating the next thing or something like that. Now, I'm not saying that that's what everybody else is getting. I'm just saying for us, it's a real important aspect. Calmness and state of mind is such an important part of our process. So we've kind of, like I said, we've augmented it. So we don't use it for a regular obedience training and rewarding, but we are using it for counter conditioning stuff, dogs with serious issues. So if I get a dog that's aggressive that wants to bite, if we get, I'll just go through the line. So if I get a dog that's aggressive and wants to bite, that dog only eats out of my hand, and that dog decides when he eats. So I offer food from the first day, but the dog typically won't take food for the first day, and then the dog decides when he's ready, and there's a point where the hunger, so we've got the anxiety, the aggression, whatever the state of mind is, and it's up here, and the food drives down here on the first day, and then it starts, and then at some point the dog goes, man, I'm so hungry that let's have that food. And they'll take the food from my hand, and they'll start, like I always say, they'll like get bling, little hearts in their eyes when I show up. The association really starts to shift because we've leveraged the food drive so much rather than just saying like, here's a piece of chicken or here's a treat. That's not enough. Even if it's a high value, that's the part of the puzzle that people are missing. Even if it's a high value item, it doesn't have enough leverage psychologically for the dog to get them to override the anxiety, stress, aggression, whatever's going on. So by building that drive, you really are able to bridge that gap and then get the dog to make that choice to come to you. So for aggressive dogs towards me, that's what I do. Dogs that are majorly dog reactive, or human reactive or whatever it is, then I'll take food out on the walks or whatever context that intense stress is happening, and that's the only time that I'll feed them. So we've used it on walks for highly reactive dogs. Nino, the video in New Orleans where I had that dog for 1 week that was that had bitten people and was trying to bite people on the walk. I only had him for a handful of days, but he only ate on walks, and that really helped him kind of repair, along with e-collar work and foundation and everything else that we do, that really helped put him in a better gear. So that's kind of the way we do it, Maggie. We're not using it with all the other commands. We're not using it for basic obedience. We're not using it to lure and teach for the other stuff. We could do it, but it's just not for us as far as the results. We're not crazy about those results. but we are crazy about the counter conditioning stuff that we're seeing with certain dogs. So we're typically only using it for real problem dogs, for real problem situations, specifically to bridge the gap, get the dog over the hump, to be able to use less pressure with the e-collar and get the dog to do more of the work and create a better association and kind of move from there. So hopefully I covered that one. Did I cover it? I got a thumbs up.
Maggie.
Thanks, Maggie.
Question number 10.
Let's try and pronounce this one. It's fancy pants.
Well, it's a Instagram handle, so Fagella, which is Elijah Weiss, okay?
Oh, Elijah, we've gotten to the bottom of you.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Sean, just discovered your videos and loving them.
Thanks,
This is
Elijah.
question number 10, by the way. Did I say that?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a question about anxious dogs and whining.
Yeah. This is a
whining time.
no wonder we got this.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. I'm a dog walker who takes mostly behavior issue dogs to do structured pack walks.
Yeah.
I have a newer dog who was kicked out of his daycare because of his crazy spazzy energy. He's dog and people friendly, but his energy is so intensely off the wall that he can barely interact. He can't calm down enough to have a polite social interaction, and so dogs want nothing to do with him. His owners struggle with introducing...
Sounds like me when I was a teenager.
Sounds like me now. His owners struggle with introducing him to new people since he can't contain his hyper-friendliness. He's been improving a lot since we started pack walks. I now have him on a prong, had been using a halty, which worked well for his pulling, but nothing else. I put a weighted backpack on him, but the biggest struggle is the constant whining. Some of it seems anticipatory, a lot seems anxiety. My question is, do I correct the whining? Do I ignore it and focus on draining more mental and physical energy? At what point would you consider medication for anxiety, and would that mask issues or help him to calm down and actually absorb training? Any advice would be appreciated.
Elijah, thanks for the question, buddy. Is this our first official Instagram?
No? We've done it before.
Okay, we've done it before. All right, so I get so excited, but okay. So these guys are challenging. A couple things. One is that, and this is the harder part of this equation, is that it's really hard to make magic happen compartmentalized in one context. It's really hard to take a nutty dog like this and try and get it to just be awesome and calm and chilled out and deferential and respectful and impulse control rich in a situation just on the walk, especially one that's fraught with excitement and stimuli. So the big problem is that needs to be happening at home as well. So if you're trying to make it all happen on your own, you're really you're trying to tackle a pretty big gig, because that would be like us getting a really crazy dog and in a board and train, and we're only going to walk him. We're not going to do any of the other work. That would be really hard. Not to mention, at our board and train, at least he wouldn't be acting like a fool inside the house most of the time, which he probably is doing. So I would say if you can at least get the owners to do a real simple thing, if it bothers them, if they care, if it's a priority for them, I would get the owners to do leash and prong and do duration place command. Show them my place command video or teach the dog place command and do it for them, and start doing some real duration work and check in with the family about how they interact with the dog. Are they keying the dog up? Do they enjoy the nuttiness, or are they annoyed by it? What's the dynamic there? If they're annoyed by it, then they're probably looking for some help, and then I would definitely get them on board to do some duration work. A lot of it, that dog needs to slow its mind down in a more comprehensive fashion than just on the walk. So you're trying to do all the work in a small little moment, and it's really, really, really hard. I remember that because I walked dogs for a long time, and I remember how hard that was. So if you can, get some teamwork going, get the owners to do some duration place work, or downs, both leash and prong on the walks itself. Then you've got an arousal issue. That's one of your big issues. You got an arousal issue with this excitement stuff. So if you can find a way to break through the arousal, you can make a lot of progress. It's challenging. Pet convincer can work for some dogs to break through the arousal. Some dogs don't care about it. Trying to think. You've got a leash and prong, so you can definitely. I guess one of the things I do if you're doing leash and prong, it's hard if you're doing pack walks because you got your hands full with a bunch of dogs. But if it's possible and you can do some one-on-one work with the dog, then 180s. If you watch my video where I've got a dog named Lola, I think it says introducing Lola to the prong collar, or introducing a pulling pit bull or something to the prong collar. And the dog's name is Lola, little black pitty. It shows you the 180s pretty clearly. Also my DVD as well. And that will really take arousal out of the dog. So the 180s are awesome for taking arousal out. But without all that work being done at home, it's still, you're kind of fighting an uphill battle. But if you can get somebody to hold the leashes for a little while, the other dogs, get that dog, do some 180s, calm that dog down, use pet convincers, see if that will take some of the arousal out. That would kind of be the way to go.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I think you, because you take difficult dogs anyway and you're doing pack walks, you should be training dogs. So what you should do is you should say to the owners, hey, I got this. Give me that dog for 4 or 5 days. As long as they're committed. I assume the dog got kicked out of daycare. They went to you. I assume that they've got some trouble that they'd like to fix. Take the dog for 5 days and do a low-cost board and train and work. It's going to make your job easier. It's going to make their job easier. You can make a video out of it and you can start training. Why not?
I love it. I like her advice even better.
You should, this dog you're not going to fix it doing it an hour a day. It's just impossible. So take the dog and immerse it for 5 or 7 days and really do a good thing. As long as you like the owners and you think that they'll follow through, and then start building that in as part of your business. You should be training. Every dog should go in for 2 sessions before they get to walk with you. Just have like a low cost, $250 like walk doctor sort of thing, where you work with the dog, and then you have a much easier time, and the owners have a much easier time keeping things up. I think it'd be awesome and a great new income stream for you.
Look at that. You're getting business advice too from the mighty Morgan. So that's a great suggestion. I kind of was hinting at that in, saying, getting the owners on board. Mm-hmm. Of course, that's the big part of this equation. If they're not on board, you're kind of stuck either way. Mm-hmm. But once again, trying to make magic happen on your own with dogs that are living, the rest of the 23 hours of their life in a peak state is really, really, really hard to do, and it's hard on the dog. So the suggestions I made are probably not our favorite suggestions. They're kind of like what you have to do to try and manage a dog that's out of its tree and not getting what its needs are, not getting them met at home.
That's such a cute picture. Your Instagram's full of dogs. You're totally set up to be just training. You've got dogs with prong collars on, and you should be doing this, man.
Laura's going deep here. So anyways, hopefully that makes sense about not compartmentalizing. I know that was one of the most frustrating things for me when I was walking dogs was, like, how do we get these guys to all behave themselves, you know? And the problem is they're going around and being nutty, for a large portion of their day, and then you're trying to ask for a structured, calm, tuned in, focused, respectful thing, and that's really, really hard.
Really hard. Too much pressure on you.
Yeah, so those are the suggestions. Pet convincer, 180s, structured duration work inside the house with the owner, and if they'll let you train the dog, man, fantastic. Great way to start, great way to start another part of your career and get some cool stuff going.
Kill it.
Cool.
So I have a thing I think we're going to do. Could be kind of fun.
Okay.
We have 2...
Or really boring.
Or really boring. We have 2 questions that are on Instagram that we'd like to answer. Mm-hmm. But since we've already done our 10 questions, these are bonuses.
I'm clocking out.
'Tis the season. Forgiving. So what I was thinking, though, to save you guys, is we'll do question 11 and 12, and I'll do a 30-second timer.
Ooh, it's like a speed round.
So it's going to, obviously be more work for these guys at home, but, what do you think?
I love it.
Okay,
Let's
cool.
go. I
right.
like the spontaneity. Let's rock.
Question 11. Well, we don't have to go fast. But
okay.
I'll set the timer and get it ready.
Okay.
So this is on Instagram. Her handle is Rice Flab, and her name is actually Courtney Renee.
Hey, Courtney Renee.
So this isn't included in the 30 seconds. So, hey guys, about 10 months ago, I adopted a border collie mix from a rescue who had a clean slate with humans, dogs, etc., but an unknown past. She'd been in her foster home of 12 dogs and a pig for only 2 weeks when we'd first gotten her, and went into heat the day after. After that, it took us a month to have her back out in public. During that time, my brother had come home from college, and she showed some aggression we didn't know that she had. She never let him out of her sight. On the other end, she's completely docile with most women, but select men terrify her into barking and defending herself, and it's hard to keep her from being reactive on walks. The largest problem I have with her is complete fear aggression towards other dogs. She's fine with our other dog, but aside from that, she'll lunge, pull, and bark towards any other dog. Basically, she'll get into her own zone and nothing will deter her. I've been making a lot of progress on her heel and focus, but she's not automatic or confident all the time. She's such a wonderful dog that it's hard to see her mind so tempered with. I'm not sure if I managed to fully explain, but yeah, I think she did.
Ooh-wee.
I know.
30 seconds?
I think we'll do a minute. Okay, you ready?
I'm sweating bullets over here.
No, you have to refer to videos and you have to refer to other Q&As, and this is a tough one in general just to answer even in 10 minutes, but it requires a lot of foundation, a lot of that stuff, so we can just kind of push forward with that.
Ready?
Ready? And go!
Okay. So, first thing I would do is I'd go to e-collar work. With this kind of level of problem, you've got to have an e-collar. Otherwise, your dog's wandering around the house and like following people. Your dog should not be doing that. Your dog should be locked down. Your dog should be getting massive direction from you, massive structure. And the e-collar is the best way to enforce it and put your dog in a really good space. Junior, stop misbehaving. And you're messing up my time frame. And I have notes written down for you. Lots of leadership, lots of direction, much less freedom. E-collar on walks and in the house. So I'd get a trainer on board if you can. How am I doing?
20 seconds.
I'd get a trainer on board if you can to help you. But this is the typical dog we get in here. And by doing a structured e-collar program like this, we send dogs home in 2 weeks that are looking amazingly better.
10 seconds.
So that would be my A to your Q, and I would go through our videos and start working on that.
Our how-to videos on our video page. It's free how-to training videos.
Yeah. www.thegooddog.net.
Okay, that was kind of fun. Question number 12, bonus.
We're just giving it away.
I know. This is on Instagram as well.
Chili peppers.
Hazel the Golden Doodle. It's actually literally a Golden Doodle's Instagram. I hope she asked in first person. She didn't.
Hi, I'm Hazel.
I'm going to ask it.
And I have problems with humping.
I'm going to say it in first person because it'll be amazing.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the Instagram
Hazel, what's your problem?
Is Hazel the Golden Doodle. She says, hey, I'm a mini Golden Doodle and I'm 8 months old and I was spayed at 6 months. A bit of problem that I've faced, my owners have faced with me, is I hump the 2 youngest family members who still play with me the most, but are still 19 and 20. Sometimes having fun, I have fun while playing. It triggers my humping, and at other times I just randomly get the urge. I don't do it to anyone else, and if they try to stop me while in the act, I start jumping up and biting their hands and arms until they just let me keep humping. They've tried a stern no. They've tried leaving the room.
Hazel, this is a cry for help.
They've tried leaving the room. They've tried preventing me from following. And they've also tried to get me off them and to follow a command like sit, but it just doesn't work for me. Once I get started, I am determined to get through the act. They're wondering,
Hump
and
or
I
death?
am wondering, what are tips on combating my
Humping.
humping?
Do I get a 30 seconds or a
Yeah,
minute?
you get a minute. Okay.
You get a minute. Okay.
Ready, go!
Fire hose.
Whoa! I'm Hazel, remember?
No, seriously, dressage whip. This is going to sound crazy. People are going to be like, you're whipping dogs. Dressage whip works fantastic for these kind of behaviors. You can get it from Tractor Supply. You can get it from
Horse
Amazon,
Supply,
Horse Supply,
Amazon.
anywhere. And we use it for socialization techniques. Everybody I know in the balanced training world, where most people at least are using them for socialization things. But what's awesome about it is that it extends your reach. So dog starts humping. Hazel, you start humping and you can't control yourself. You're out of control. And then mom, human, takes the dressage whip, picks it up, pop,
Bang.
right on the rear. And Hazel, you go, holy mackerel, that stunk. And then
No
you
fun.
stop humping. And then maybe a few seconds later, you try it again. And mom goes, pop a little harder with the dressage whip, and Hazel, you go, I don't ever want to do that again, and you hang your humping
Just want to add something in, Hazel. Tell your parents you can also put a prong collar on you with a long leash, and if you jump up and start humping, bang with the prong collar. Also, you have an e-collar. If they wanted to do e-collar training with you, you can also correct with that. And the cool thing is that it sounds bad, like give a whip or a prong collar correction or e-collar, whatever it is. But the thing is that we got to knock that out.
There has to be a consequence, guys. I'm going to go over this just because as in my show.
Whoa.
But there has to be a consequence, and this whole thing about like dogs should live in a world with no consequences and they should float on a cloud, and I'm sorry, but it's monkey business. Dogs that are humping or being disrespectful or engaging in negative behavior are being ill-served by people not stopping it. So Hazel's folks, stop it. Like Laura said, leash and prong, pop, should be uncomfortable to hump. Peck and mincer might work, but the dressage whip or e-collar, I mean, if you're going to do fancy stuff, e-collar will work as well, but a dressage whip is going to cost you $15.
Yeah.
Piece of cake, give her a nice little pop on the rear, and guess what happens? Humping equals bad news bears, and then humping stops. So get it done, make it easy. Whichever road you're going to choose, just get it done. You don't need to live with a humping dog. It's so easy to fix. We fix it in 5 minutes. So, and your dog won't be traumatized, and your dog won't not like you, and your dog might sulk for a minute and go, oh God.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, Hazel, you might sulk and go, oh, this was terrible. But you'll like yourself better in the morning when you're not humping.
All right.
All right, guys.
We're done.
Merry Christmas.
Brought to you by hair.
Yay.
Oh, yay.
Merry Christmas,
We love you guys. Thank you for a wonderful year. The Good Dog has just been awesome this year.
It's been an awesome year for us. It's really
incredible.
been special. Things have grown so much. So many great clients. We've had so many fantastic dogs come through here and been able to help so many people. And now we're expanding. Laura's falling asleep from all this
Q&A
expansion.
Saturday. We've got trainers. We've got Brittany. We've got Tony.
And Tony. I mean, it's so much great stuff, and we're able to fly down to NOLA and help people down there. And so
We've also got a book coming out next year. We've got a book coming out early next year, and we've got our e-collar DVD coming out next year.
It's going to be so good, guys.
So stay tuned.
Book is looking good. E-collar video is going to be off.
Book is almost done. Mm-hmm.
All right, guys.
All right, we love you.
See ya.